Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast. I am here today with Molly Noerenberg, and we're going to be talking about something that is near and dear to my heart, and that is coming back to performing. Because some of us, we've had to spend our time doing a corporate job, or we've been raising kids, or, life got in the way, or whatever. And then we want to come back to performing, but we're feeling a little bit like, oh my gosh, like, what are people going to think? And do I still have the chops? Am I still a performer? All that stuff. So we're going to get into that. But I always love to hear the story of anyone that I'm talking to. So I'd love to hear your background. You have quite an impressive background, I think, Molly, and I think people would like to know about that.
Cool. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me, Bree. I'm just thrilled to be here and thrilled to chat today.
Me too.
Yeah. So obviously I'm a singer by trade. I don't know how much of the story to tell, but I'll go super briefly. I went to Carnegie Mellon undergrad for classical voice and went on to my master's at NYU in musical theater performance, and then got a postmaster's degree in vocal pedagogy and teaching. And I kind of always knew I wanted to do some version of be the singer, but also be the facilitator, teacher role. Um, and after I went to school, or sometime actually between the masters and postmasters, I was out and I was performing on some national tours and in New York City, and I loved it. And also, it was a grueling lifestyle, and it was really, the waking up at 5 a.m. and not knowing if you'd be seen, and really like financially not knowing if the job that I had to support me was going to give me enough, and how do I balance all the different things. There was like a part of me that was just loves what I got out of performing and didn't quite have the nervous system awareness that I have now to be able to stay with myself while navigating so much uncertainty and, fear, honestly. And so it really made sense for me. I was like, I'm going to, pursue the teaching. And so I started adding in more teaching on the side while performing. And then eventually started the NYC vocal studio with a good friend of mine from NYU, and we ran a voice studio right in the heart of Times Square for 11 years. It's still going now. It's fabulous if anyone's looking for a place in New York. And simultaneously, I got invited to come back to NYU and to join the faculty there. So I taught on the voice faculty at NYU Steinhardt. I was an adjunct faculty for just over 10 years, teaching voice majors and kind of getting to walk with them through 4 years of training and who they're becoming and using their voice. And in the process of that, it became really interesting to me because I'm always someone who's been fascinated by the human who's making the art. And in a lot of the sort of like conservative academic settings, there's a lot of understanding for the instrument. There's a lot of understanding for like the requirements of what the industry wants. And then there's a lot of like push who you are to the side and don't necessarily like there didn't at least at the time that I was in such an academic setting, there wasn't such a priority or a premium put on knowing who you are, knowing what makes you tick, like understanding kind of exactly what I was talking about with myself in the auditioning time of like knowing when you're at your limit, actually valuing if something real is happening in your personal life that you're allowed to tend to yourself and still be a serious musician, and you can come back to things, you can flow in and out. And it's like when we learn the skills of how to take care of ourselves, we can actually show up even more for our performance and our artistry and, our career. So in the process of that, I went back and got a certification to become a life coach and an embodiment teacher subsequently, which is really all about like tapping into the information that your body is giving you
Mm.
and learning to listen to it and kind of like not override the wisdom that's coming from your body, really work with it. And now I help artists basically do that, like really kind of marry the technique and the inner work together in one space so that they can be free to do what they really want to do, and also be honest about like what's hard about real life and what feels
Mm.
challenging. Like I'm a mom and I work with a lot of moms also who, feel like, oh, I should just be doing X, Y, and Z. And it's like, yeah, And also, you're balancing a lot as a mom. So, like, how can we put it together where we're being honest about the whole picture instead of trying to override what's really real?
Oh, I love all of this. I work with a lot of moms too, and older, more, as I like to say, more mature artists.
Yeah,
And there's a lot of balancing going on. There's
totally.
sometimes it's even like dealing with aging parents or declining spouses, and as you get into the older years,
Totally.
and there's so much that falls on us. And there's
Yep.
so much pressure, but then there's like this internal pressure of like, but I'm an artist and I should be out there. I should be putting out singles and I should be performing and all that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's really hard to marry, like, even a lot of people I work with have we're all, a lot of women have the people pleasing tendency. And there's a lot of the, like, function of being a caretaker for all the different people that you mentioned. And the, like, query or the wondering of, like, am I allowed to do things that are just for my own enjoyment or my own fulfillment if I also have these other obligations? And how do I carve out space for that? And, like, is my enjoyment worth the time? Like, whether I'm making money from it or not, like, is it actually just allowed that I do the things that make me feel good?
Yeah, I mean the email that I sent out for Mother's Day, I think the title was I used to feel guilty about this too. You
Yes,
know?
exactly. It's
And
so
some
true.
we have to figure out some things that we can do for ourselves and not feel guilty the whole time.
That's right. Yeah. And that it's like, it's actually, I sometimes I'm like, like, there's an idea of you could be like the chief culture officer of your family. And it's like, if
Mm,
I feel fulfilled, if I feel taken care of, if I get to do the things that actually bring me alive, I'm a better mom and a better partner and all those things. And yeah, it does take, like, logistical planning, but also it's like, if your light is turned on, imagine how the other people in your home could experience you. And yeah,
yeah.
and there's a lot of programming that says, like, you should feel guilty and, like, it is a waste of time, or you should take care of everyone else before you take care of you. And it's kind of like a revolutionary act to be like, no, I also matter in this whole landscape.
Yep. Yep. So I'm curious about working with, so you work with classical singers and musical theater singers, or one or the other? Like when you
Singers
were
kind of all.
a teacher of singers.
When I was a teacher of singers, it was mostly musical theater, some that had like classical, maybe like dual interests, but it was musical theater primarily. And at the time I was at NYU, the major was like expanding to include pop, which was really cool. I
Mm,
love that style of teaching and singing, so it would include a lot more like pop, rock, folk. Like, it was just kind of expanding into much more of the contemporary music.
that's
So
cool. And
kind of
I've,
all of it.
I was came up as a classical singer, and I've had classical singers on here talking. We've been talking about kind of how when you're in the classical genre, and probably similar in musical theater because you are playing a character, you're
Mm-hmm.
not supposed to put your own uniqueness into it, right? You're teaching yourself how to be somewhat homogenous,
Yeah.
versus if you're an artist, it's like all about being unique.
Yeah. It's really interesting because there's like a total double standard. It's like almost all the time, the people I see that get cast actually are bringing themselves to a role and bringing like a
Mm,
flavor that's really specific to them. And yet the casting call might be asking for something really specific. So it's like
mm,
somehow you have to know yourself well enough to have this other access. Like, maybe I have a comedic timing that, like, would be unexpected, or there's like a little more depth to me. Like, we have to be able to access that, but also filter it through the prism of what they're asking for, which is a tall order.
yeah, it is.
Right. It's a
Wow.
lot of jumping through hoops, which is why sometimes it can be even more gratifying or even more like expressive to be like, I'm singing either my original composition or something that just gives me freedom to interpret, like, on my own terms in the way that actually feels good to me without someone saying, like, this is right, this is wrong, you have to do it this way or it's bad. It's like that
Yep.
that is not very freeing.
Yep. I'm curious how you advise the people that are coming to you who are on that track that you were on, of being in musical theater, and like you said, the stress of feast or famine and am I going to be on stage today and all that stuff. And like, but that's their dream. How do you help them be able to navigate that better than you did when you did it? And do you have this little feeling inside that's like, should I really be helping them navigate this? This is not a very healthy lifestyle.
I feel like I get that. And I basically feel like the reason why I coach the way that I do is because I had that experience. It's like I wish
Mhm.
I had a mentor that could have said like, "Hey, by the way, it's a great idea to find a way to earn money where you still feel whole." So like some of my people have started their own businesses
Mm,
alongside auditioning, right? So it's like they're doing something where they feel really proud of themselves. They make a decent amount of money and they still have space and room to show up for what they want to do. And it really becomes you said, like the balancing act between all the different parts. But like, at least when I was coming through, there was like this expectation of this obsessive passion for music. And it was like, if you don't have an obsessive passion for music, you don't want it. Like
mm,
you're not dedicated enough. That means like you're not gonna make it. And time again, the people I see that make it have also like a family or a network of
mhm.
friends or they have financial stability. And it's like, it goes so far to know that you're taken care of physically to be able to show up in a room or to show up on a stage, right? Like if your rent depends on it, and of course it does for most of them, right? And most of us, like, but if your rent depends on it, and you're like, then all of that pressure is like, I'm either gonna like eat as well as I need to and have the shelter I need, or I'm gonna let down, this whole list of people. That's not a really freeing way to make art.
Yeah, you're not going to show up very well. You're not going to be as confident. You're going to have that feeling of desperation around you, even if you don't think you do. Like you can feel, people can
It's like,
feel it. I always
exactly,
talk about when I
totally.
used to interview people for jobs. It's like I knew the people that needed this job before they told me that they had another job. I knew that they did.
Yep.
And they were coming from another job because they felt so secure. The
Exactly. You can
interview.
just feel that, right? And it's
Yeah.
like a lot of the work I do is with the nervous system, which is all sort of rooted around like finding safety in your body. And it's like you can feel if someone comes into a room and just feels grounded and they're like, I have something to share. I'm so happy to be here. What an opportunity. Or if someone comes into the room and they're just like in a panic and they need it in a different kind of way, neither's like wrong. But there's also this why I love helping people work through that kind of season is because there is a totally different way that we can do it. Just most singers and performers that go through this training aren't really taught about it. It's just sort of like, no, you just are going to do it and you'll do it as long as you need to do it until you make it big. And it's like, that's a terrible strategy.
Yeah, you got to have some kind of mechanisms in place to help you get through it if you are going to push through to that point.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
100%.
So let's talk about people who are coming back to performing because like I said, I have a lot of people like that in my audience. A lot of them have kind of pushed music to the side for other things for a while, but it's always been like brewing in the background or it's been this dream. Some of them did it before and had to give it up for a while, and some of them just never got to it.
Yep.
And,
Yep.
what are some things that can help them, number one, like feel like it was okay that that happened? I think
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing. It's just like they have so much shame about it, or they feel like a fraud. Like, can they still call themselves an artist when they're not yet performing? I think that's a
Yep.
lot of the things they go through.
Yeah, totally. So first I want to like address that it's like a creative U-turn. If you read The Artist Way, she talks about this,
Mm,
but it's sort of like a point where you're moving ahead in one direction and then life or something else like takes you into a totally different direction. And there's like a loss that happens at that point and subsequently a lot of grief around
mm,
it. And for so many, we don't address the grief of like moving away or walking into a different path. And so then when we try to come back, it's like we're carrying this like 10-ton shield on our back. And we're like, I don't understand why this is so hard. And it's like, exactly like you said, there's this shame, there's this grief, and that lives in the body. And then we come back to the body and we're like, let me just sing or perform or stand up or write or whatever it might be. And it's like there's literal blocks from this energy that wasn't exactly processed. The other thing I think is really interesting, and absolutely no one was saying this to me going through my training, so I don't think many people are hearing it all the time, but it's like you are still being an artist even if you're not making art. Like, in my opinion, I feel like every lived experience that we're having is contributing to the way that we could show up and write a song or sing a song or write, like, anything that you would do is going to come out of the way that you're living. And I think sometimes we think it's like siloed into something like, and now I'm in another chapter, and that was the chapter where I was momming for 5 years, and now I'm coming back to being an artist. And it's like, no, your artist was still with you for all those chapters, like observing your baby and feeling the pressure of time and all, like, it's all material if we choose to use it. Like, if we give ourselves full permission that like anything we do contributes to how we make, then it's like also no time is wasted. Like, every experience
Mhm.
you're having is a contributor to the kind of art or presence or person you show up to be. So I think
I,
there's like a lot of permission in that.
that's so true. I mean, when I was a mom, I desperately wanted to perform, but it just
Mm-hmm.
wasn't happening at first, you know. But I really wrote a lot then because I
Yeah.
had the time, right? I would write songs in my head as I was walking my daughter to preschool, you know, or walking
Yeah.
back from taking her and, you know, or when it was nap time, I would make sure that I had that little bit of time that I would focus on that. And that
Exactly. And
there's no reason you can't do that.
exactly. It's like there are way more pockets than we acknowledge, right? Because we go into that like all or nothing. I'm either on the stage or I can't do anything. And it's like, yeah, but you're inspired by something walking home. Like, yeah, write it down or hum the tune or like play with it, noodle on it. And also, like, there's no rush that it has to be something before it's time. Like, I think so much of a lot of our mentality is like, if I want to do it, I got to do it now. And it's got to be like, I'm late. I'm already like 10 years too late, right? But it's like, I don't know, life's just kind of unfolding at the speed that we're moving through it. And we can put a little more urgency into it when we have space for it. But there's so much to be gained from those times in between. And I know I mentioned this when we were emailing, but a couple years ago, I actually had thyroid cancer. And first of all, it was scary as a singer because the
Mhm.
nerve innervates in the larynx and in the thyroid. So they were going to be cutting and hoping that they didn't nip what needed to be nipped. And it was a whole crazy thing. But in the season right before the surgery, I was in like a furious tear writing these sung meditations that I was like really excited to write. And I'd been thinking about for a year and like writing little like scraps here and there. And then I was like, I got to get these down and I've got to record them because if I don't, what happens to my voice? What, like, all
Mhm.
these things, right? It was like such a panicky sort of, but also like a good powder keg where I was like, I have something to say and I know that if something changes on that date in April, I'll regret that I missed my chance to say the things that I really wanted to say. I didn't end up recording them, but I wrote them. And actually, just this week, so 2 years later, I recorded them with a friend who I didn't know at the time, or I knew, but like we didn't know each other as well as we do now. She's a world class cellist. She flew in. We made these gorgeous recordings that, like, if I had rushed to make the recording in 2024, it would have been nice, but it wouldn't have been the same fullness and expression. And I wouldn't have lived, you know, like the recovery and come from the other side where the
Mhm.
meditations mean even more to me now than they did, even like they felt true when I was writing them, but now they're like even more in my body. So I don't know. There's also just permission of like the timing. I really feel like, I don't know, there's like no lost time, even though it always feels like we're kind of like trying to catch up with time, but it's like it's meant to unfold how it'll unfold. And if it's something you're really excited about, like the opportunities will kind of come back together, or you can make the opportunities.
Yeah, I think that's really good. And I mean, I think about so many times that I felt, well, first of all, I had decided, well, I'm a mom now, so that's like my role. Like I couldn't do
Totally.
more than one thing. It was
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
silly, right?
Right. I know. But it does sometimes feel like that. It's like, I have to do this specific way, and it has to look this way. I was actually just talking to a client the other day who's beginning the process of like wanting to become a mom. And the fear of, I, similar to what I was describing with the sung meditations of like, I've got to do all the writing that I wanted to do
Mm.
in my life before I become a mom, because if I don't, there won't be time and I won't be able to pursue this. And this is my chance now. And I don't know if you feel the same way, but I was saying to her, it's interesting because I had the exact same fears before becoming a mom. And then I feel like one, I'm way more creative in a way that like connects with me after becoming a mom. Like there's things about me that shifted into place that just feel even more authentic. But also like I'm not going to do anything that takes me away from my son unless it's something I really want to do now. Like
Mhm.
the discernment is just like off the chains. It's like, yeah, I'm only going to do the things I want to do, or I'm going to spend time with him because I also love that. Right. So it's like, it makes the filter of how I spend my time even more obvious.
Yeah, exactly. I always talk about, how it made me say no to so many gigs I should have been saying no to before
Yeah, exactly. I'm like,
because I
oh,
only
yeah,
had so
that's
much
totally
time.
not right. That's not a fit. Oh, I'm very clear.
Yes.
Right. It's like it's such a gift in that way. And I think a lot of people don't hear about that, right? Like we just know time is scarce and it'll be hard, but it's like, but then when there's something that comes along that is a fit, you're like, yeah, I'd love to do that. I'll find a way. Let's make that happen.
Yep. And I think with the songwriting too, there's so much that comes up as a mom or, having a child in the house. Like it's almost like a new mirror to see yourself through
Oh, yeah.
that you have so much more to write about that you even did before. You thought you had a million things to write about, but then, wow, it opens up a whole new area.
You're so right. Yeah. It's like this, like, literal crack open of your heart. And then it's like, oh, there's all these other chambers of life and of me that I hadn't met yet. And now I know in a new way.
Yep. Well,
So
let's talk
cool.
about the whole like if you don't make it by your 22, you're out. I mean,
Yeah.
it does so many times it feels like that. I swear. So I have I don't know if you know I run a music podcast called Women of Substance. It's been going on for a really long time. And
Mm-hmm.
I used to look and go, "Oh, these young people are submitting. Now I'm getting artists who are 13 and 12
Oh my
submitting
God.
music and it's good." And I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, this is crazy. And I'm like, is it just going to keep happening that's moving forward and forward? Because I feel like when I started working with artists, it's like, oh, well, if you don't make it, by the time you're 30, and now it's like by the time you're 22.
Totally.
But
Right.
then
It's
there's
like,
also this whole other era where there's like these legacy artists that are just killing it in their 60s and 70s.
yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's like, I think it's like we get to decide what's like, what's right for us. It's interesting because I have two people in my life right now. One is a coaching client who had not auditioned for 10 years before we actually went to college together. And then she was working, she was in a wedding band and she like gigged all over Boston. She's amazing. But she hadn't done a live audition for 10 years and she still had it on her bucket list that she wanted to perform. She's 40 or 41 right now. So like she still had it in her list, but she was kind of like, is this still going to be possible for me? And she was literally doing a gig and a Broadway director walked by, seeing her perform in the gig and was like, oh, you're perfect for the show that we're doing right now. Called her in and she's on the national tour of Hell's Kitchen right now.
Oh my
Like
God.
just and literally had been saying like when we started coaching was like I'm not sure, like it's so scary for me to show up for auditions and it brings up so much. Meanwhile, she's got the talent, she's incredible, right? Like, and sometimes it's just like aligning the pieces inside so that you actually show up and then like let fate take over, right? Because she didn't have to do all the things that we think like, okay, I have to follow the 20 points, plan that's going to get me in front of the perfect right person. It was like, no, she actually was just out there performing music she loves in like
Mm.
her total element, right? And it's like, of course, when you're in the element, like the director walks by and is like, oh, who's this unknown person that I'd love to have, right? It's like
Hmm.
just incredible. Yeah, so it's like I don't know. I think it's just like it's age is but a number, and there's lots of people that are performing, right out of school. And I remember there was that feeling in our class too, like a couple people book shows right away. Then there was like another wave, and it was sort of this feeling of like if you haven't done it by 25, you need to pack up and leave. And I have lots of friends that did and went on and did other things and were working, totally outside of music. And it's really interesting right now because I'm watching this wave. Actually, a really good friend of mine just started a band and they're performing like all over. And she hasn't performed for like, I don't know, maybe 10 years. And it's like, there is no saying that it has to stop just because, like, you become a mom or you move away from LA or the city, right, or New York, you kind of get to decide. And it's like, if it's still, I like to say, like, if it's still on your heart, or if it's like, if the dream won't let you go, it's not
Mm.
supposed to be like, you're not supposed to let it go. So what would it look like to actually take it seriously instead of saying like, the time has passed?
Yeah. And what do you, if you get to encounter these people before they're at this point, if they are, taking the break for whatever reason for a while, like what can they do to kind of keep everything brewing so when they come back? Because I think about myself, I don't
Mm,
think I sang for 2 or 3 years during
yep.
because of COVID. And then suddenly I got a church job out of nowhere, and I'm like,
Mm,
oh my gosh, my voice is a disaster. Like
yeah. Totally. I think the most underrated thing is just to sing for pleasure,
mm,
like your actual enjoyment. And I know we could work on like the chops and the technique and all of that, and that's great. But I even think most of the people that I see really succeeding, it's because they're doing the things that make them feel good instead of the things they think they should be doing. So it's
mm,
like, if there's an artist that you would normally love to sing, but you're just at home and you're like, I don't know, I wouldn't really put this up on stage, or I wouldn't bring this into an audition, like, why not sing it? Like, why not like reconnect with yourself just by doing the things that either you used to love or you've always wanted to try and you've just felt like there's not a chance for it, right? And then, there's plenty of people that would love to help if you're like, you do start to sing and you're, feeling like your voice isn't up to shape. There's so many ways to take like a Zoom lesson or go in person. And that can be really gratifying too. Like,
mm.
especially as a bridge step when you're like, I'm not sure I'm ready to fully pursue it yet, but I want to take it seriously and just kind of see what's here. Like, having a routine practice and kind of getting back into using it. And really, it's like, I've already said it a couple of times, but like taking your dream seriously. Not that you have to do it seriously, but like taking it seriously enough to prioritize some time to have fun with it.
Yeah, I think that's really good getting back into the play of it. And I think that can be a little stifled maybe by our own selves because once we have kids in the house, it's like all these people are in the house. You're not just going to
Totally.
sing at the top of your lungs all the time, or your kid is like, stop, that's
I know.
annoying, or
Cut it
whatever.
out. Yeah.
Yeah. So you know what? Go in your car by yourself and drive and listen to, Sarah Bareilles and sing as
Oh,
loud as you want and
100%.
get
Like,
those
I love me some
opportunities.
Sarah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, and any pocket, right? It's like, oh, sure, I'll offer to pick up the pizza tonight and I'll sing on the way home. Like, it's like no amount of time is too small, either, is the other
Mhm.
thing. It's like your nervous system actually responds to repeated activity. So sometimes we think it has to be like, okay, I'm finally ready to go for it, which means I'm going to practice an hour a day or even an hour a week. And it's like, actually, if you did it in like, a song is like 3 minutes long. Like, if you did it in 3 minute increments every day, you would be so much more ready when you do want to take steps, and your body would actually feel really adjusted to the fact that, like, this is the new normal. I do sing again, or I do this for fun and pleasure. And yeah, it's like, so often we just think it has to be like the big
Mm.
step. And it's like, actually, little steps over time will yield as much or even greater result.
Yeah, and just that using that muscle. Like you think about say let's say stretching, right? As you
Yeah,
get older, like your muscles get stiff or whatever, like all you have to do is stretch every day for like even a minute or two,
totally.
and you'll be so much better off when you go to yoga next time, when even if it's three
Totally.
years from now. But like that's the kind of thing you don't think about because you're like, oh, well, if I'm not doing yoga all the time, then why should I be doing this?
Right. I'm bad at I'm bad. I'm not good enough yet, or I'm not flexible, so I shouldn't show up. And it's like, yeah, but a little bit every day makes it easier.
I love that. Well, I know you've got something that can help them out a little bit with their, reset and nervous system and all that stuff. You want to tell them all about that?
Yes, I have this free guide. It's called the Creative. Nope, it's not called that. I totally just said an old one. It's called the Overthinking Reset: How to Get
Mm.
Out of Your Head and Start Creating in 10 Minutes. And it's basically a protocol that'll take you through three kind of formative steps to get you like purge all the stuff that's in your brain, get into your body, create a sense of possibility. And it's like a protocol that you can do right before you're sitting down to create, for the people that when you sit down to do, singing or practicing or writing, and it's like, I don't know what I should do, or I had these ideas and they're not good enough. Like, any part of us that gets into the overthinking habit, It's just like three really clear steps that you can do that help reset all of that and put all the other stuff to the side and just get to what you want to do. And then it has like a special little bonus, which I love, is that when you are ready to go out and do something, perform or audition, it's a grounding before you do something brave that kind of reminds you of your genius and what's special about you and why you're doing this in the first place, instead of all the kind of negative thoughts that we can sometimes have right before we do something we were excited to do.
Cool. So how did they get that?
Oh, yeah. So I will. Can I link it to you?
Yeah,
I just realized because it's a link, but it's not a great link.
it's not
So
a pretty link.
yeah,
Yes.
on the show notes if that's cool.
Yeah, it'll be in the show notes for you guys. And you can
Cool.
also, I would recommend connecting with you on what is Instagram, your place
Instagram's
of
great. Yeah, you can follow me
favor?
at Expressed Life, or you can head to my website, which is expressedlife.com.
Yeah, so if you don't get it from the show notes, you can just reach out on Instagram and say, "Hey, I want that
Oh
guide."
yeah, totally.
That got me thinking about too, you mentioned the artist way, and I think another way to keep that creative muscle is even just to do morning pages.
Ugh, I love the
Right.
morning
Right.
pages.
That was all I did for a while when I had little kids, is all I had time for was to do morning pages. And it helped a lot.
Oh my God. I think they're like one of the single most valuable things people can do. I did a book club this fall for my all my coaching clients, and we read through it week by week, a chapter of it. And it's like all the chapters are really helpful. But I was like, if you do one thing,
Mm.
the morning pages will have such a huge impact, because it's like we're all walking around with all this stuff in our brains all the time. And then we're like, I don't know why everything feels hard or heavy or any of that. And it's like the job of the morning pages isn't to fix anything that feels hard. It's just to have it like have a container and a space that it can land, and let that be enough.
Yep, but also for me, it's stimulated. So, like when I was talking about
Totally.
walking to my daughter to and from preschool, like I had done my morning pages, and so I got all the crap out of my head, and then
Yeah.
it like got me thinking about, oh, that was an interesting idea I came up with in morning pages, and so I
Mm.
started thinking through it on my way to and from, and that was where songs were born.
Yeah, it's so true. You're so right. It's like it's gotta, all the stuff has to shake free, and then you're like, oh, that was good. I like
Yeah,
that part, or I want that
right.
piece.
It's
Yeah.
usually like one sentence that
Right.
you get that you're like,
Right.
oh, let's go with that.
You're like, that's it. Perfect.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much. This has been such a great conversation. I knew when I saw your background and everything that you are about, I knew you'd be a perfect fit for speaking to our audience. So thank you so much. And maybe I'll see you in New York. Who knows?
Yeah, I would love that. And thank you so much for having me on today. It was honestly like just a total pleasure for me. This was so fun.
Absolutely. Thank you. Oh, shoot. What did I do? I don't know what I just did. That was weird. Oh, I know what I did. Okay.